Hello everybody. Well, we're on a wonderful location here today in Wiltshire on Wroughton Airfield. But what we're doing today is nothing to do with airplanes. This site belongs to the Science Museum, and it's sort of an overflow site. And here this weekend we have a meeting by the Historic Caravan Club. We're going to show you around some of these old gems from early caravan days and hopefully talk to some of their owners. I hope you find it interesting.
Hello, welcome to Gloucestershire. Well, if this Thames Caravanette reminds you of caravanning in days gone by, join me to look at classic caravans.
Another little break here. Welcome aboard. Well, good morning, John.
Good morning.
We are rather ignorant on this subject of vintage caravans. I remember them, of course, being that old. But what year is this one?
This one's 1957. It's a Safari 4. It was manufactured quite close to here in Stroud.
Yeah. How long have you had it?
We've had it now for 6 years,
yeah.
And we've taken it to various displays around the
course,
transport shows. Belongs to the club. Belonging to the club, we get yes, the opportunity to go around the steam fairs and the transport shows, and it's basically a museum on wheels, which is what our club is trying to do.
It's certainly grown over the few years.
Oh yes, the caravans now are highly sought after, especially the pre-war ones.
Any idea how many we've got here this weekend?
We've got about a dozen in our particular club.
In your particular group, yeah.
Yes.
I see you're specialise in the picnic groups here.
Well, we like to try and put on a display of something that's almost relevant to caravanning. This is sort of picnic and something that all the old cars and the old caravans would probably have had, particularly sort of just after the war when it was.
Yeah, how long have you collected this sort of stuff as well?
We've been collecting this about 10 years, this is only part of the display.
And it's nice to see a display within the caravan.
Well,
Anyway,
that's what,
thank you, John.
Okay, you're welcome
You
to
enjoy
look
your
around
weekend.
the rest of the caravans.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, I've got a couple of members now with me from the Period and Classic Caravan Club. John and Elaine, welcome to Gloucestershire.
All right.
This model here, it's a Bluebird Rambler, 1957. It's quite unique.
Yeah, we found it in a wooden lockup. Chap came to us at one of the shows, said, I've got an old vintage van in a shed. He said, would you like to come down and see it? We said, yeah. We went down. We had to dig the doors open to get it's been in there that long. We had to dig it open to see the van. When we opened it, it was on blocks up in the air.
Really?
The old chap had used it 3 times a year touring, came back, put it on blocks. It's still on the original Firestone tyres. The curtains are the original 1957 curtains. All the interior is all original, pink walls, no messing about. There's no sunlight damage on the material, it's all perfect. All the original cooking gear is still inside, most of it's used.
I was just going to say, I can see some crockery up there on the top shelf. Is that original crockery,
Yes,
John?
it's all original, yeah. There's Bluebird crockery of a Bluebird in there. There's also some crinoline lady, which is in the background of the same period, from the 20s all the way up to the 30s in there. There's an original dog basket from the 50s for the dog to sleep in.
Right.
The dog's still asleep in there.
I can see him.
Yeah. The awning we've still got the original blue awning, which is almost identical to this one, but without the windows. So this awning would have still been fitted in with the period of that time. And all the memorabilia is what they would have used at those times from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s.
That was my next point, John. Some, well, remarkable items in there. I mean, tell us what you've got.
Well, we've got cigarettes there must be 200-300 packets of cigarettes there. 95% of them have all got the original cigarettes in. There's pipe tobacco from the Royal Navy. We've even got pipe tobacco from the 1890s, all with the original pipe tobacco still in there. There's fairy washing up soaps, all full. 90% of all the household equipment, Oxidol, fairy, Homo, Rinsol, and Persol, and PG tips. It's all still full of the original material. We try not to get any empty packets in there. There's all sorts of Robin starch. There's even the original Bronco toilet paper, unused.
Just on the right hand side, there's some Izal in there as well, I noticed.
That's it, yes, the Izal, all that's full. There's an old paraffin oven with a cooker to go with it, which we still use. We use it quite often when the gas runs out during the year, which quite often happens. So sometimes we'll do some baked potatoes in there and pizzas. Only takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do it in the paraffin oven.
Excellent.
It's all working order.
Where did you come by all of this material, John?
It all comes from car boot sales, antique shops, and things like that. We never pay more than £2 or £3 for the items, even though there are a lot more at most places.
So there are suppliers out there who can supply these?
There is, yeah. But it takes a lot of searching about. We've got about 15 tonne vintage memorabilia altogether.
Really?
That's caravans, cookers, washing machines, all brand new, still in the original boxes and wrapping.
Just going back to the period and classic caravan club, how many members are there?
Yeah. Well, we've got about 180 odd members so far, and up and down the country. We all attend the shows. We've got vans. We have vans from 25 rolling years, to the same as the vintage cars. So we've got vans from 19. We've even got caravanettes from 1910.
1910?
Upwards, yeah. And there's some members here now who've got their old caravanettes, Bedford CAs, 1958s. We cater for everything, not just vintage pre-war vans. We cater for anything that's to do with camping memorabilia altogether. That's tents, everything, you name it, we cater for it. And we only charge £10 a year, that's all. And that caters for 4 magazines. And we do holiday rallies. We ourselves do 5,000 miles a year with this van alone.
So a lot of ground covered?
Oh, there's a hell of a lot of ground covered, yeah. Hail, rain, sleet and snow.
Well, luckily today we're in sunshine.
You chose the good weather, yeah.
We picked the right day.
Yeah, that's it, on all that. But hopefully, I think even me old tent, my son uses the old tent that's there, the 1945 tent. We try to keep everything as original. There's no airbed in there. Everything's as original as possible. There's no. We use the gas lights in the van as well.
Yeah.
No running water in there. It all has to be carted. You start putting all the modern conveniences in, you might as well take a modern caravan.
That's right. Yeah.
With a microwave and that.
So this model is true 1957.
Everything is 1957. Yeah. Normally we try and use a vintage car to go with it. Normally, if we can help it. Unfortunately, this weekend we haven't got one. This weekend.
Okay.
Right, we've got another John here now with an even older caravan than the other one. What year's this one, John?
We think it's about 1950.
It's about from 1950, a smart little van. And of course, the way they were built then was almost sort of hand-built, wasn't it, compared with the modern mass production methods? What make is it?
It's French. It's called l'escargot, the little snail.
That's lovely.
And it was made by a French company in Paris just after the war. Somewhere between, this van's probably somewhere between 1946, 47 and about 52.
Where'd you find it?
Well, we didn't have to find it because a pioneer of the vintage caravan movement in the late 60s, early 70s was a chap called Harold Catt. And this was the last caravan he had. Unfortunately, he died of cancer and he left it to my wife. And we restored it. It had been vandalised. Restored it, and we've been running it for about, I suppose, about 8 years now.
Now, with an old caravan like this, what are they for towing?
Generally, they're pretty good. If they don't tow well, there's usually something you can do, like redistribute the load and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's quite interesting because it being French, it hasn't got any brakes, which
just
means
make allowances,
which
don't you?
means you're limited to 50 miles an hour.
Yeah,
towing.
that's
You know.
That's fine. Well, the old bike, that's another
That's about
collectible.
mid 30s. That's a Humber.
Yeah, old. I used to have a Humber. They're built by rallies too, weren't they? And the
Yeah,
only
well, they're
difference was
late.
the front forks, I believe, wasn't it, on there?
That's correct. Yeah.
So
that-
I can see you're a man after my own heart, and
Yeah.
vintage and full of collectibles.
That's right.
And I see the good lady's got it charming inside, and we'll have a look around if we can in there later. John,
Okay.
thank you very
Well,
much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, there's a lady that's joining me now all the way from Shropshire, Leonora Pierce. Leonora, you're the owner of this 1961 Fisher Holly van.
Yes.
It's an 8-foot model. It's probably, I would say, the smallest one here today.
Probably, yes. It is probably the smallest one.
Now, from a lady's point of view, what's it like to live in a model like this?
It's very compact, and I've got arthritis, but I can manage quite well in the Fisher. It's very, very good. It's a warm, cosy van. If you come in when it's cold, you just put the kettle on, and it's like central heating been turned up full. So it's very comfortable, very compact, very easy to manage in.
So making a cup of tea is killing two birds with one stone.
It is, central heating as well.
Let's talk about the model itself. Manufactured, I think I'm right in saying, in Walton-on-Thames?
Yes.
In Surrey?
Yes, by a family called Fisher, and they manufactured them.
So it was actually a family concern then?
It was a family concern, yes.
And when these were first manufactured in the early 60s, what sort of price tag would have been on them?
Well, this one would have cost £195.
So again, not a cheap price in those days.
No, the model before it was £165, but it had got a smaller rear window and hadn't got the extra window in the side.
Yeah, what was the reason for that, Leonora? You mentioned about the windows there.
I don't know why they put the extra window in the side, but they enlarged the back window so that you got through vision when you were towing it, you see. And they were actually, because they're lightweight, they can be towed by a Mini. So all the Morris Minors sort of would tow one about, and they don't look out of place.
And towing-wise, what's this model like to have behind you?
It's very easy. I've had it behind all sorts of vehicles. I've got a large collection of classic vehicles, and it's been behind most of them.
And this isn't your only one, is it?
No, I've also got a 1954 Welton Rosalida.
Have you?
Not many of the Rosalidas survived because of the shape of the roof. So every time it goes out, as soon as you get back home, up on a ladder, reseal the roof.
So sometimes there can be some maintenance involved then?
Yes, but I've never done anything to the Fisher yet, except service the brakes underneath and tyres and what have you.
Yeah. Now you've also got some period pieces just on the end there. Let's take a little look at these. We've got what is this? A water carrier?
Yes, that's a late 1950s water carrier. Some of the other members in the Period and Classic Caravan Club have got them. For longer weekends, we use the old type meat safe outside,
Yes.
which is far, far better than any cooler box or fridge you could imagine. It keeps the food fresh. They don't do them nowadays, and it's a pity because they were the best things out.
Yeah. And this box here, this is a
Yes,
cool box as well?
yes, that's a 1960 cool box. And although I've had the modern ones, they don't work as good as that old one does.
Oh,
And it's been in use for 40 years. I've been using it that long anyway.
so would Fisher have manufactured these, or would these have been a separate entity?
No, they were separate, available from, camping, caravan shops. I think it cost something like 15 and 11 pence.
In those days.
Yes, so I've really had me 40 years worth out of that.
If you're looking for extra items, how would you go about this sort of thing, Leonora?
Well, you look round various antique places where they sort of have a junk department.
I see. Yeah.
And one of the best places to find your period china is, of course, the charity shops. Some people turf out a couple of cups and saucers,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is all you need to display in a period caravan.
Talking of caravanning, this model here, how far has this one gone in the country? Has this gone all over?
It's gone all over the country, yes. I haven't taken this one abroad yet, but usually I like to go to Holland.
Yes.
And of course, Fanny Fisher, as we call her, has to go behind, you see. It's my mobile bedroom, lounge, kitchen, and entertainment, because I have a lot of people in here. It will actually seat 6.
Really?
For a game of cards or a game of dominoes, yes. Whatever you do at a wet rally.
So really a home on wheels then?
It is a home on wheels, yes.
Yeah. Well, Leonora, thank you very much for
Thank
enlightening us
you.
on this particular model.
Thank you very much.
Okay then, Paul. Now here's another vintage caravan. We've had a look at a couple in the 50s. Going back a bit further than that, isn't it?
Yes, it's 1930.
1930.
1930.
Not many people were caravanning then, surely.
No, not a lot. It was generally the more well-off people did it in those days. You know, it wasn't the sort of mass hobby that it is today.
Well, it's quite a novelty and a rich picnic as such, wasn't it?
yeah.
What make is it?
This is a Bertram Hutchins Voyager. They built about 35 of them in total between about 1927 and 1932.
How many they built?
About 35.
Now you look at the mass production.
That's right.
Now with Compass and people like
Yeah,
that, it's amazing, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
What's she like to tow? This one,
She's not bad on a level road. She's a little bit soft on the springs, so I'm thinking of probably putting an anti-roll bar or something because she does pitch
yes.
a little bit. But considering she's square, she's not bad.
And what
not
sort of
bad.
is it? A 2-berth, 4-berth, or what?
Originally this was a 2-berth, although we put a sort of temporary bunk on just on the side for when my son comes. But
Yeah.
that's just a modern addition. Which,
Obviously, you get a lot of enjoyment out of this.
yes, oh, yeah,
Especially with the
yeah.
club and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much,
Yes,
Paul.
that's okay,
interesting.
welcome.
Well, so far we've covered all shapes and sizes, all manner of styles of caravan. If you were into budget caravanning way back in the 60s, this model might ring a bell with you. It's a Junessa Kid 2-berth folding caravan. Its owner, Jim Manley from Swindon, is with me. Jim, it's quite an unusual model, isn't it?
Yes, I have traced back as far as I can, gone through all sorts of archives, and it's the only one that's known to have survived. They were made, first of all, by a company called Campmaster in Stroud, and they made them from, say 65, 66, that sort of era, and then they ceased production and it moved to Martock, which is in Somerset. Now they were mainly known for making horse boxes and trailers and things like that, and due to whatever conditions, the company decided to start making folding caravans. And instead of it being called a Campmaster Kid, it was then called a Junessa Kid. And then they had their own new marketing and everything else. And they produced them from about 65 until 1970. But as I say, we've tried to track down another one, and so far we've failed.
What sort of cost would we have been talking about, Jim, back in the 60s when this kind of model was made?
Well, it seems small money now, but £195 upwards, depending on the sort of fittings that you got with it, or whether you just bought a basic caravan. But probably a lot of your listeners will appreciate how much £195 was back in the mid-60s.
Well, of course, it was a lot of money, wasn't it?
It was. There was a lot of money put into it. And there was lots of caravans around this era, and you'd bought them as basic shells, and then you customised them or fitted them out as your budget and pocket would allow.
Yeah. Now, this one here, you actually presumably use this as a living touring model, I suppose is the right expression to use.
Yeah. Most caravan clubs organise anything from 30 to 40 outings a year. And I'm a member of a classic caravan club, and a lot of our shows are 2-day shows, so naturally that's how I got into caravans. I have several classic cars, but with the sort of weather we get in this country, it's not very nice sitting in a car all day if we do get a little bit of moisture, we'd rather sit in a caravan and look at the rain.
That's right. I notice as well at the front you've got the awning, so that obviously helps to stop the rain a little bit.
Yeah, originally they had a little porch piece out the front,
Yeah.
but it was just really to keep the rain from blowing in through the doors. But we went to a car boot sale and we found a later awning from the 70s for £7. So my wife sewed it to suit the height of the caravan, and that gives us a welcome extra bit of shelter during our summer.
Yes.
But they're quite easy to erect. They basically fold down like a pack of cards. All these caravans were designed for 2 people. This one, it was advertised as 2 people and a child, but you couldn't tour on your own unless you had a friend to come along and help you put it up.
Ah, right.
Because basically your roof and all will stand up, and then another side, but you need a big wingspan to hold out 2 sides and pull the other piece up with your teeth. So it is for 2 people. But once it's up and everything's clipped together, they're very, very cosy.
Yeah. How far have you actually travelled in this, Jim? I mean, have you been up to the north, Scotland perhaps, or...?
I've only had this caravan for about a year. So the furthest it's done is probably maybe 200 miles. That's a 400-mile round trip. The people that built and designed these knew exactly what they were doing. They were designed to go behind a 10 horsepower sort of car. So they managed to get the nose weight just right, so they just sit really, really nice at the back of your car. Where other caravans that were designed in the 70s, they thought more about just the box. It was just a living space with wheels on it, and you couldn't tow them. We've all seen caravans going up the motorway, fishtailing like that. No matter what people do with them, it's just the design.
Yeah.
But back then, there's craftsmen that built all these sort of caravans, and they knew what they were actually making.
And what's the towing like? Presumably it's quite stabilised, is it?
Well, all up, you've got about 600 weight, which isn't a lot by anyone's standards. And because it folds down, I don't have to have wide mirrors to see past the sides. I don't need a periscope to see out the back of it, because when you look out the back, you just don't see the caravan. So it's a very, very simple design. There's no fancy winding wheels, it's just legs that pop down and you just tighten it up with a nut. Very, very simple. A few things have been hard to get. The wheels are curious because they're a split rim with 3 studs, and people tell me that they were originally designed for what people call bomb trolleys, for moving stuff out to planes on airfields and things like that. But a lot of the smaller caravans, if you look around today, have these little 8-inch bomb wheels. Nowadays people use suspension on modern caravans. And no matter what company you go to, everyone seems to end up with suspension and wheels. But back then, with these small budget ones, we all had these little bomb wheels. So it means you haven't got to step up into your caravan or anything like that. It's a nice, low, simple design.
Jim, one last question. You mentioned there a few seconds ago about modern caravans. Obviously, everybody's got the choice to go for the modern caravan nowadays. What makes you want to own a model like this from the 60s?
I'm a classic car owner, and we all start with just the car. Then we get the little box brownie camera, the picnic set, and then you get the caravan to go on the back.
I see.
It's just an ongoing thing that an awful lot of people end up doing. I've tried modern caravans, but there's no character or charm to them. Where the older ones, even if you park up to get petrol, people come and want to talk about your car and, in heaven's name, what you got on the back of it. And it's how you meet and talk to people.
Yeah.
It's not just a hobby, it's a social thing for the whole family.
So really quite a conversation piece.
Oh, it's quite a conversation piece. That's why you're here now.
Jim Manley, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Okay, well, morning. You're the third John we've spoken to this
That's
morning.
right, yeah.
Nice old caravan, this one. What
Yeah.
year is this then?
This is 1933 Winchester.
33. I didn't think it was that old. Well done.
And it's one of the first ones built with a double wall. and they call it a Winchester double wall special.
What do you mean double wall? That
Well,
was
it's
to do
double
with
skinned.
double skin. That was to do with
That's right.
the temperature
Like it's got
drop.
an outside
Yeah.
and an inside.
Yeah.
Whereas the earlier ones just got the outside skin.
Yeah, I suppose he did,
You
but
see?
just
That's
a
right.
woodwork inside.
And it was built for Eric Tetley of Tetley Beers
Oh,
in October 1933.
well, a bit of history about this.
So there we are.
Proud
And
owner.
I got it, I believe it was from his granddaughter. So it was in that
Yeah.
family for all those years until I got it 10 years ago.
Good gracious. What condition was it in?
Well, inside, it's original.
Is it?
Yeah, that's original inside. The outside, we just scraped all the old flaky paint off and repainted it.
Well done. Of course, they would have been hand painted in
And a
those
couple
days.
of new tyres.
Couple of new tyres. What size wheels are they?
That's 19s.
19. Any
Yeah.
problem getting them?
No. You send away from Northants Tyres.
Well done.
Yeah, they
And you
are.
enjoy these weekends,
Oh, well,
obviously.
yeah. And we use this like for holidays as well.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
What do you tow it behind?
But normally, I got a Austin 16.6,
Yeah.
which is 1933 as well.
That's nice period
Yeah,
transport.
but it was a little bit hot coming up here the other day, so
Yeah.
we brought it up on a modern thing, like, you
Well
know.
done. Well done then, John.
All
Hope you
right.
enjoy the weekend. Well
Oh,
done,
yeah,
mate.
it's lovely,
Well
yeah.
done.
Yeah, thank
The
you.
old dog's enjoying himself
Oh,
down
wow,
there.
yeah, they're all right. Yeah.
Caravan we've got here is a 1933 car cruiser. That's going way back again, and very typical, of course, is the car that's towing it, the 1934 Morris. What a lovely combination they make when they're out on the road. A little bit slow, but you motorists must be careful and patient when you see them, because exhibits like this are well worth seeing. This old Caravan was completely rebuilt by the owner. The inside has still got its own original equipment, which includes oil lamps. Well, back before the war in 1934, if you had £257.10 to spare, and that was a lot of money then, you could have brought yourself a Winchester 15-foot special. And probably, if you had any money left over, a lovely old Morris car like this to pull it. This old Caravan's got a lovely history to it, because up until just at the start of World War II, it was used as a holiday home down near Brighton. But the salt air got into it, and a lot of the woodwork went inside and had to be replaced with hardboard. But she's had a pretty original fit now, and there she is, more or less in its original condition. Now, 1934 Caravan is lovely. Looking at the specification here, for £257.10 shillings, you got a complete set of crockery and cutlery, pots, pans, a lot of it. And the towing weight of this was 1900 weight, which is pretty heavy for a modern van. And they only recommend you tow it with a 14 to 16 horsepower car, whereas nowadays you want something like 2 to 2.5 litres to push that along at modern day speeds. Don't times change? And just a year later, you could have bought this one, a 1935 Winchester. Similar in style to the one we had over there, but different colour scheme we have. And what's interesting here is the way the individuals do them out inside, and I especially enjoy the washing facilities here. most of this would have been done outside in those days. Doesn't it look a little bit different than your modern sinks and facilities? Of course, the jug in there, that would have had your hot water. No hot water laid on in the caravan in those days. And it's fascinating to me. I am a caravanner, a modern caravanner, and to look back and see basically the awning and the caravan in its outline hasn't changed much, but in detail, we've come a long way since then. Well, I'm beginning to think you've got to have the name John to have a vintage caravan, because we've got another one here, but he's accompanied by the good lady Eileen here. A couple who I'm sure enjoy caravanning. This is a 1943 Winchester. Winchester seems to be a common name coming out of the annals of history.
Rolls-Royce
Now,
caravanning.
it was Rolls-Royce caravanning in those days, was it? That's interesting to know. Now, what makes a couple like you have a vintage caravan like this when there are so many modern caravans with all the facilities in them?
Well, we go back to 1962 when we first had a caravan. Joined the caravan club and rallied. I think we've done about 700 rallies with the caravan club. I then retired and went as a site warden. We couldn't have our children with us over the weekend, so we bought an old caravan and for them just to sleep in. No other purpose, just to sleep in. And someone come and said, you ought to do them up. We see them at Dorset, they look lovely. So I contacted John over the other side there you just spoke to with the French caravan, and we started doing it up. And since then I think I've done 6 of them.
But there is a lot of fun in owning something old, isn't there?
That's right.
I mean, we all married men know that, don't we? But no, there is you get a pride in something of that era. And you've done out the inside fairly period, I expect, with the cutlery,
exactly.
etc.
This was a wreck. You could stand at the back of it and look straight through the front.
Could you really?
And so I had to make a new lantern roof that was broken in half.
So you're a bit of a craftsman in that quarter, bit of DIY man, are you?
Well, yes, yeah. You must say that.
Under the careful eyes of your supervisor here.
Well, that's it.
Yes.
And what do you collect? Do you collect anything particular?
Well,
But it always keeps your eyes open when you go anywhere, I expect.
Yes.
Oh, that would do for the caravan.
Yes.
Whereas you don't get that with the modern one, do you?
No, no.
If you wish to go in and film inside, you can do.
Well, we shall have a look in there.
Right.
John, thank you for the chat,
right.
and you too. And
That's
it's
There is one thing I'd like to point out to
you do that.
And I'll just get it out.
This must be his pride and joy then. Something he's
Well,
going to
we've
show
got
me.
4 altogether. What are you looking for?
Black window.
On the top of the cupboard? At the end?
Are you out most weekends in the summer?
Yes. Well, we usually are, but this year we've been a bit put off the foot and mouth disease. We haven't been able to go
Yeah.
to a lot
Well,
of
what's
the
he got
venues.
here then?
Well, this van was made, as you know, during the war.
Yes?
And when it was made, this is one of the blackout windows for the lantern roof.
Ah, I know, for the roof. That was
right.
the old blackout one. That's the
Well,
old original, is
That's
it?
the old
Yes.
original, the only one I managed to keep.
Well, there's a wartime relic for
Well,
you.
there are.
John, full of interest. Thank you very much then.
That's all right.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you. Well, we've run out of Johns at last. We've got Keith and Adrienne, another happy caravanning couple.
Indeed.
And you've got an Eccles. That's
Yes.
a name more common to my knowledge of
Right.
the Eccles Caravan. They went on for many, many years.
They
I
did
think they
indeed.
make them now.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, it's
yeah.
an old firm.
Yeah.
So, what started you off on this, with the vintage caravan?
Well, we started with vintage cars really, and towing around with modern trailer tents and things, and then we wanted to have something older to go with it. So our first vintage van was back in the early 90s with a 1930 Caravan, and we've just sort of updated to this. our new one, 1937.
Oh, you've really got modern.
Absolutely, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So
yeah.
she's just a two-berth, I think.
A three-berth.
It's a
yeah,
three-berth.
Three-berth,
is it?
yes,
Yeah?
yes.
And what weight does she...
Well, she actually weighs in. I weighed her just a few weeks ago on a weighbridge, 17.25 hundredweight, loaded for the road. So
that's not bad.
It's not bad, but heavier than you might think for a small van.
Yeah, they're
you know.
heavier than their modern counterparts, but they're made a little bit more solid.
Oh, they're solid. They're robust. Yeah, they'll last.
Great, no. So what about you? You enjoy it as well, no doubt?
Oh, of course I do.
Well, of course
yes.
you wouldn't come
Yes,
if you
yes.
didn't, would you?
No, we spend the winter and a lot of times going to charity shops and boot sales, collecting all the bits for it.
Well,
so,
this is nice. It
and
gives you,
antique fairs.
as I said earlier, you've got this eye open all the time for little bits. Oh, that'll do
yes,
for the van.
yes,
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
yes.
Really.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And it gives you a common interest.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what better for a
Yes.
married couple?
Absolutely right.
Anyway,
yes.
you enjoy the caravan.
Right. Thank you very much.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
Hello, Jill.
Hi.
Now, it's nice of you to come and have a chat with us. Now, this is a lovely old caravan. It goes back to 1930.
Yep.
And I can see by the label, I didn't know before, it's a Bertram Hutchings Voyager.
right, yeah.
Now, how long have you had this one?
We've had it about 2 years,
Yeah.
and it was in quite a derelict state when we got it. It was parked up in an old orchard. Somebody recovered it from the orchard, and it was stuck in someone's garden for 10 years. And we got hold of it and completely restored it.
I'm going to ask you a question now. You see, you're somewhat younger than a lot of these vintage caravan because you aren't vintage, really.
No.
But what makes you have an interest in this older style caravan?
Well, I used to do a lot of caravanning as a child.
Yeah.
I used to go on holiday with my parents, you know, in the 60s. And it just, you know, I've lived in caravans as well. I used to work in Kent, and we lived in a caravan when we lived there.
Obviously, you
so-
like the charm of this one.
Yeah, I
too.
do.
It's
Yeah,
certainly got
this
a
is
charm
so
about it.
nice. Yeah.
It has got a
I've
romantic charm
always
about it.
wanted a 30s
Yeah,
van.
and
so.
I especially noticed the type of roof on here. It's like the old showman's caravan
It
roof.
is, yeah.
What is it they call that type
It's
of
a
roof?
Mollycroft roof.
Mollycroft
yeah.
roof. That's the word I was looking for. And you've got your leaded panes,
Yeah.
windows
I
there.
had to
It
make
really
those.
is. You made
Yeah.
those. I could see that there was a bit of artistic craft about you. I could see it there. And we've been saying this all along. Owning something like this, you just don't buy it and put it and then use it. You're always on the search
Yeah.
and always on the lookout,
Oh, yeah.
and it gives
Go
you
to
an
a lot of car
interest in
boot
life.
sales.
And you obviously come to several of these rallies
Yeah, we
when the
do.
foot and mouth doesn't stop you,
Yeah,
and
stopped
that's
quite a
been a
few
bit of
this
a
year, yeah.
holdback for you. But I hope from now on you'll enjoy many more weekends.
Well, thanks very
And
much.
it's been a wonderful weekend this
It
weekend.
has. It's been so
And
hot.
it's been lovely talking to you. And
Thanks very much,
Thanks
yeah.
very much for the bit of
Okay.
information you've given
No
us, Jill.
problem.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Roberts. My wife and I are from Frome in Somerset, and we rally with this 1933 Eccles Caravan. This is a little bit special. As far as I know, this is the only one of its kind left in the country. This one is called an Eccles Type 35. It's all canvas covered, and I mean all canvas covered. The roof is canvas, all the sides are canvas, and all the canvas has been painted. Now, this caravan now is still waterproof, has been right from new, and you could go inside now with a water meter, and you'll find that it's completely dry inside. This is a fairly lightweight caravan, as you can see. It runs on 19-inch wheels. It's fairly high off the ground. Would have been towed by a big Humber or a Rolls Royce or something of that description during that time, because years ago cars were very few and far between. Now, if you'd like to just have a look through the door, excuse me, love, you can see that we have all the artifacts going right back to 1933. This is our home for time to time from between rallies. We normally rally most weekends. We normally leave home on a Friday morning and sort of go back home on the Monday. Another feature of this caravan, all the windows are leaded. Now there's two types of lead you can get. You can either have lead on the outside, also lead on the inside, or sometimes you can get it sandwiched. The glass is sandwiched between the two, or the lead is sandwiched between the glass, whichever. But this one is leaded both sides. The outside is covered in hardboard. Hardboard, as we know it today, was in fact masonite made in Sweden. All the English board from the 1920s till almost the present day, nearly all been made in Sweden. The English don't do a very good board. But this masonite is an oil-pressed hardboard, and it repels the moisture. And being canvas covered as well, that's kept it dry right from the word go. Coming down now to the wheels. The wheels, in fact, are 19-inch wheels. They're set up on springs. They're very high off the ground. The Caravan is very difficult to tow at high speeds. We go from town to town, rally to rally, and we have to use a lot of motorways. So we, in actual fact, we have to have good tyres. These tyres, in actual fact, now, Dunlop and all the big companies will not make these tyres unless you'll have an order of 15,000 at a time. Now, for the small tyre companies, they can't do this. So these tyres, in actual fact, come from INSA of Chile. This one with these two wheels, these two tyres were shipped to me from Chile, and I had them in 6 weeks, which was not bad at all. I think that basically covers another thing. These vans had a strip on the side. Now you've got a modern caravan. You've got an awning rail around the van which they slide in, which is more modern. But these got a flap here with hooks inside, and this one just hooks on like that. And the wife and I can just sort of put that up in about 2 minutes. Right, water. There's no water supply. As you can see, we've got water containers here, which are aluminium ones. And you can just bucket and chuck it, as you say, into the sink, and that's all we have inside the sink. And cooking is done by the paraffin stoves. Modern day life, as it suits us on rallies, we haven't got time to put on a kettle and wait half an hour for a kettle. So in actual fact, we cheat a little bit. We have a little tiny primus stove about so big, and we just light that up and we can have a cup of tea in about 5 minutes. Right, now I'll take you round to the back of the van. And we'll take a look at the awning. The awning is made as per the old one was. The old one we had was in shreds, and we've had that remade, and that is the exact awning that they would have had in 1933. Nothing much to report, I suppose, on the back of the van. You can see the canvas roof, all canvas covered at the back. And for legality, we must carry a marker board at all times. The original one came with one rear light, one number plate, and that's all you had originally. So now we carry, legally, we are 100% with a marker board. The vehicle is all up to standard. We have it tested every year. The brakes are good, 11-inch brakes, and it stops pretty well. Now here's another interesting van here. This is called a Leeson. This is a Leeson Type 18. This was my van, pardon. This was my van originally. I bought this van in the 80s, so it's a 1938 Leeson. I bought this from a film star called Bernard Archard. Bernard has made a lot of films, King Solomon's Mines, Spycatcher series, and quite a few more. This Bernard had in his family right from new in 38. I saw it in his garden for some 30 years. I used to be a school bus driver, and I used to pick up his children and take them to school. Every morning I looked at this old caravan under the apple trees, and I said to myself, one day I'm going to ask this man if I can buy it. When I did buy it, he said, oh, I'm away filming, come and see me again. So I did see him again, and then he said, oh, I've been filming. And I said, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm a film star. So then I started looking at the films, and I could see Bernard from time to time. This caravan is unique. Again, this one has a canvas roof, but the sides are aluminium. This is one of the first aluminium caravans in this country. As I was saying earlier about the hardboard, people were worried about leaks on hardboard, and they went to aluminium. The aluminium produced in this country was not of the set standard. It was not thick enough. And as soon as they put the aluminium on a caravan, it started buckling, and they couldn't understand why. Well, a few old wise men who were in the caravan trade said, look, if we had thicker aluminium, the heat wouldn't affect it so much and it would not buckle. So anyway, eventually, after a few years, aluminium's doing the job very well. Leeson, in the olden days, they supplied parts for gypsy caravans. I think they started in 1892. In the 1930s, they reverted to making parts for ordinary caravans, and then they would supply you with plans so you could build your own caravan. Now, this caravan was a demonstrator. As far as I can be sure, they made 2 or 3 demonstrators. This one was the Type 18. They also made the Ellesmere. They also made the Mancunian, and I believe there was one other. They made 4 demonstrators. This is donated by the fact that if we look at the A-frame, we will see that there's a brass plate on the A-frame with a chassis number, and there's a chassis number 4, and this one is badged. Now, several people have come to me over the last few years and say, can I identify their old Leeson caravan? And I say, well, how do you know it's a Leeson? They say, well, we know it's a Leeson because it's got the word Leeson on the hitch. And I said, well, Leeson supplied hitches to all sorts of caravans. I'm just trying to think of the one in Bristol now, and I can't think. So anyway, it boiled down to the fact that if your caravan has not got a badge on it and not got a chassis number on it, then we know that it's not original one. So this one was made by Leeson. If you've got your own homemade one, you'll see various differences. Now, I've seen several caravans with a lot of differences. The roof has been altered, the windows are different, the doors are different, but this one is what we call bog standard, and it's a lovely van. This is originally done up by me in the 80s. This van is now undergoing a new registration, a new thingy inside, so it's all been done again. It's just been finished paintwork. It's a beautiful job, but we've got a few ripples on the paint on the roof, but that's going to be rectified later on. So if you like, I'll just open the inside and you can have a see what's inside. Now, please accept my apologies, as this is not quite what you expect. This van is under restoration, and as you see, the man who's been doing this has been doing a lovely job. He's putting all new veneer all up around the roof area. He's been doing all the cupboard fronts, and eventually he's going to finish up with the door area, and no doubt they'll probably put some new curtains up. But it is coming along very nicely, and this has got a very cottagey feel about it. It just feels like you're at home when you're sat in this caravan. Standard tyres, of course. Like all caravan suspension is all on leaf springs. This one is on six leaf springs, 650 tyres. Tows very well, but it's very, very heavy.